everyone, welcome to Cinema, where we focus on the film, and today we are going to dive into a big plethora of movies that I picked up this past year, and it's more over the second half of the year, more because of all the things of when I wasn't uploading on YouTube. There's a big collection of movies I kind of had set aside, and this isn't necessarily all of the things because there was one vacation in July where I already set the things away. I'm not going to figure out how to pull out which individual title I picked up then because it was a fairly big haul then too, but either way, this is a big collection of movies. And we got 4 stacks here. You might even be seeing the top of it. But overall, I hope the audio cord doesn't get in the way. But either way, and we also got the Spartacus, what is it called? One of those, I'm blanking on the name of it, Laserdisc. That was on one of the trips, and I'm really happy to have that. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. And so just seeing it on Laserdisc, even though I don't have a Laserdisc player, it's just cool to have just as a display, and I think it looks really nice as there as part of my movie setup. But going into some of the more main movies, we got a Lifetime thing. This was one thing I found at my library on just randomly there. It was a 2010 For Your Consideration Emmy Awards. We got movies Drop Dead Diva, Project Runaway, Army Wives, Georgia O'Keeffe, Who is Clark Rockefeller, Amish Grace, Signs of the Mother. And so that was just an interesting collection. I don't think I'll ever get something like this. Maybe if I do gain more subscribers. I don't even know how that really works for the Emmy Awards or the Academy Awards, them sending out screeners. And so this was one of those things where they sent out the DVDs. Some are seasons, I believe, and some are movies. And I don't know when I'll watch them or if I will, because I don't know how good they will be. But either way, that was something nice I really liked. And so a lot of these things are just from different places, Disc Replay, Dollar General, Dollar Tree maybe, and different thrift stores that I just caught along the way, and maybe even Amazon or Walmart. And most of them are really cheap that I got at different deals, especially at the library sale where it's like $2 for a bag of movies or books that they have on their sale. When I went on the special Saturday, the last day of the sale, that's their special deal. And so some of them will be disorganized by how I'm showing them off. But either way, I'll be showing off. And this, I have one stack right here, or a couple stacks, that it was part of that library sale, and there was just a bunch of brand new DVDs from this one Dollar General or whatever that was for some reason getting rid of a bunch of them, or I don't know how it was connected to the library sale. But either way, here we got a collection of comedies, Paul Blart, Mall Cop, Grown Ups, Go With It, Jack and Jill, Zookeeper, and Benchwarmers. And the reason I got some of these is because I haven't watched many of the titles, so I just grabbed it on DVD because why not own it for super cheap than not have it at all, and instead of rely on streaming. Next up we have Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Some Kind of Wonderful, and Pretty in Pink. Only seen Ferris Bueller from that collection. I don't remember where I got that specifically, because some of them are donated to the library, and I don't know what this Dollar General collection was from that got donated to the library. But this was another sealed case of DVDs, 21 Jump Street and 22 Jump Street. Haven't seen those. And in this month of January, I'll showcase it soon. I'm doing a comedy month, and Francis Ford Coppola, and while I didn't find any of the Coppola movies, I did find quite a bit of comedy movies, which is what sort of brought me into this theme. And then we got more of YN's 4-movie super pack. We got White Chicks, Blink Man, Little Man, Mo Money. Haven't seen any of those. Let me know down in the comments below if any of these are particular to really prioritize, which I'll hopefully get through quite a bit of them. But either way, some of the movies I'm doing 2023 catch up and whatnot. And then we got Pineapple Express, the interview the night before, and this is the end. And of course, like I say, especially all of these sealed packs, you might be seeing the glare on the plastic. All of these were from the library, and it was under $3 for the bag specifically, and they were all sealed. So I was I still don't even know what was the deal with the donation. Here Comes the Boom, Grown Ups 2, and then we got Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, Joe Dirt 2, and Pixels. I have seen Pixels, but not any of the other ones, which is what I'm saying about comedies. I've seen a lot more recent ones maybe, but not as much of these older ones that I'm seeing here on these discs. Friends with Benefits, Easy A, The Bounty Hunter. We'll get this in a stack. Hopefully, we have a pretty small table I'm working with here. But we got The Animal, Joe Dirt, Mr. Deeds, The Master of Disguise, 8 Crazy Nights, and Anger Management. More Adam Sandler comedies. I haven't seen many of those. And we got, I've been looking for some of these that are more talked about. Talladega Nights, Step Brothers, and The Other Guys. I watched The Other Guys recently, and it was pretty good for what it was going for, and I do enjoy what I'm going into for comedy month, which is what I'm talking about. I need to see more of these movies. Next up, we have Ace Ventura Collection. We got The Pet Detective and When Nature Calls. Haven't heard of as good of things about the second, but I got both of them because I haven't seen them yet. And we got No Strings Attached. I'm watching more Ivan Reitman movies since he has a lot more comedy following alongside the Ghostbuster movies, which were the first 2 I've only seen pretty much before this month. Next up, we have The Sitter. We have from Jonah Hill. And then we have Zombieland and Zombieland 2 Double Tap. I have seen these. These are quite a bit of fun, and I'll might be able to rewatch those during this month if I have the time. Next up, we have The Royal Tenenbaums from Wes Anderson, and I am a big Wes Anderson film, but I watched it recently as part of the comedy month, and I wasn't a huge fan. It was still a rather good movie for what it was going for, but for his style of how well it's crafted today, I just wasn't as big a fan, at least watching after all of the other better films in there. But hopefully a rewatch will do it service as well. And then I believe this was probably an October purchase when I was going into a lot of horror movies. I got the Friday the 13th collection on DVD from Amazon. It was probably fairly cheap just to get the DVD instead of the Blu-ray, because I watched the first and the third movie before this past October, and I finally got to watch all of these, and it's a rather decent franchise. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of them. Some of them I had to get on, like there's some movies after the 8 movies, like Jason X, etc., that I had to rent or find on some other service, and they were fine, but not necessarily a huge favorite franchise of mine of the slashers in general. But I'm glad I got to watch them, and now I still own them for next year. Next up, we have the Underworld 5-movie collection. I believe there's a couple that are streaming exclusives or something that came out afterwards from this, but this was again from the library as part of that huge collection where I don't even know what was going on, but I haven't seen any of these movies, but now I have at least 5 of the movies of however many there are right now. And then we got Mean Streets from that same library hall. That was a good movie to watch before Martin Scorsese. The Killers of the Flower Moon. Next up, this was probably a Dollar Tree Rugrats movie and Rugrats Go Wild. Haven't seen these in a while. I know I was a lot more big into that when I was younger, but so it'll be interesting to give a rewatch. Next up, we have Candyman, and I do enjoy this movie. Haven't watched it on disc, and haven't watched it in a couple of years, but still glad to have it now, even if it's not on Blu-ray, until I upgrade it until then, but it could be a while based on whenever I find it on deep clearance or whatever and whatnot. This was Insidious collection, again another one of the library finds, and I did get to watch all of these movies for the first time. I did watch the first Insidious, which is the best of a bunch, but it's not too bad of a franchise overall. The fourth is the least one. And obviously they had the new Insidious movie that wasn't too hot either, but in general, it was a fine franchise. Next up, we have another triple pack. We got Hancock, haven't seen. Hellboy and Ghost Rider, have seen those, and those are pretty fine movies for what they were going for after that. And actually, we'll move back. We'll have to move some of these Blu-rays and tackle the Blu-rays last as part of the disc replay hauls that I've covered in the last however many months. To go on to this, I believe this was from a different sort of trimester of the library hauls. So this would have been at a different library sale, but under the same idea that it was part of a book sale haul. And I still got some books from there, but I don't have those specifically reserved to show off for you guys today. Next, so from that, we got We're the Millers and Vacation, so more comedies to watch for this month or the following months. Next up, we have, again, from a Dollar Tree thing that was randomly there, we have W with Josh Brolin in that. Next up, we have Lego Star Wars Droid Tales. I'm a big Lego fan, and I don't remember if I've seen this series back in the day, but it might have been a more recent series, so maybe I'll watch that at some point. But it's just fun to collect some of the Lego movies or series that I didn't have. And then here's a Legend of Chima. I do remember watching some of those. I don't remember if this was part of a spin-off series or just one of the recent series that they had in general. Next, we have The Exorcist. Watched this for the first time, and I do really enjoy this. And so I'm glad to at least own it in some sort of form to watch at some point down the line. And next up, we have The Hunted. I believe this is from the same director, possibly. Yep, William Friedkin for that movie. And we just got a couple more DVDs here. We got Red Dawn. That's from who is that from? We got John Miller's. I can't totally read it. It's like combined together. So this was the one from Ron Howard, as I can speak here. And I've heard good things about this one. Haven't seen it, as I haven't seen most of these two stacks that I just showed you. So now we're going to go on to more of mostly this replay. There may be some other stores from Amazon or whatnot, and that includes this thrift stop find. We got the whole Resident Evil collection, which I haven't seen any of, and I believe there are some after these 6 movies, but I got the 6 movies that was even on a discount less than $3.49 that was on there. So, and the Blu-ray disc was really good and well put together, or Blu-ray case was well put together, and yet I still have to see some of those, so maybe this will be another franchise I add to this coming October, or if I have an extra horror month that I want to dive into some other franchises. Next up, we have Blade Runner, The Final Cut. I did have the Blade Runner 2049 Blu-ray case for a while, and so this will finally let me get rid of the DVD of these 2 movies. So really happy to finally have that one, and hopefully I can give that a rewatch soon. It's been a couple years. Next up, we have The Departed, another one for Scorsese, which I actually didn't get to rewatch, and I'm dropping movies everywhere. Next up, we have Coco, and yes, this is diving more into the disc replay, as you may tell by the stickers. Really happy to find this finally with a slipcover. I prefer the slipcovers on some of the Disney movies. If they don't have them, it's fine. I'm not a huge stickler for making sure every movie has a slipcover or not, because some of them don't anyways. But for Coco, one of my favorite movies of all time, and my favorite Pixar movies, I figure I add that to collection for consistency. And I'm actually unsubscribed to Disney Plus now, so I started collecting some Disney movies as well, and gonna collect them over the years. Like, there may be occasional times I resubscribe for a month or whatnot just to catch up on some things, but overall, I'm going to rely more on physical media and not necessarily having to pay that increased price they keep charging every year. And so we got Bambi, one of the classics that I do really enjoy. Next up, we have Tangled, another solid one with Rapunzel, and just really delightful. Next up, we have Raya and the Last Dragon. I do really enjoy this one, but I haven't seen this since theaters. I do remember just highly enjoying the Hispanic type of tale and what they do with Sisu, and it was more creative than I expected, and so hopefully it just lives up to what I remember from it, and hopefully I wasn't overrating it at the time, because my opinions on how I've been rating films have been changing lately. And next up we have Paddington. It looks from Dollar General, and this one I did buy from there and not from the Blu-ray, the library sale. Well, here, speaking of which, we got a couple from the library sale recently. We got Borat on DVD. I don't even know if it was sold like this case or whatnot. And then we got, it was a double pack on the Treasure Hunt, Nothing Like the Holidays on Blu-ray. Haven't seen either of these, and definitely gonna try and see Borat, because I've heard that's really good as a comedy, and it looks like I missed Nothing Like the Holidays for this past month. And we got The Dilemma and Breakup, a couple more good comedies, which I've only seen The Breakup. That was a pretty solid film. And then we got The Cobbler, more Adam Sandler. I don't remember if this is a more serious one or another comedy, but either way, we have it regardless. Next up, we go back into more of this replay. We got Back to the Future. I've been holding off on getting any sort of set for Back to the Future for a while. I do enjoy the movies, so it was about time that I said, about this haul, I'm going to be trying to search for it out of this replay, no matter the type of set. I don't care it has to be a 4K or whatnot. I don't have a 4K player yet, so I finally have the Back to the Future films to watch whenever I do have that chance to revisit. Next up, we have Glengarry Glen Ross. I have heard good recommendations from this, specifically Merc with the Movies on Instagram, so I'm really excited to watch this one. I'm a big fan of Kevin Spacey, so hopefully that will be living up to the hype that I've been hearing. Next up, we have a sealed copy of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I wasn't a huge fan of this, but I did enjoy the technical aspects of this from Steven Spielberg, and so I might as well add it to a collection. It's Steven Spielberg, and maybe I'll enjoy it a bit more for the sci-fi aspects this time. And speaking of another Steven Spielberg, we got Hook. Now this one, on the other hand, I did highly enjoy for what it was going after, just the charm of growing up and being able to still have fun and not being totally down in the dumps and feeling like you have to be all serious and business. So just that tale was fun on its own. And next up we have John Wick Chapter 3. I had to complete the franchise, at least for what I had at the time. Didn't have John Wick Chapter 4, but since I had John Wick Chapter 1 and 2, and both without slipcovers, I didn't mind paying the discounted price for getting John Wick Chapter 3 as well. And that leaves on to The Fugitive, which I have not seen at the time. I was about to say I have enjoyed, but I've heard really good recommendations from those that do enjoy this film. And it's a Harrison Ford film that I do enjoy him as an actor and do need to experience more of his older films. And going on to more disc replay films, I'm not sure if the rest of this pile is not all from this replay, but still going on. We got Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse on Blu-ray and 4K, and I did rewatch this recently. Still lives up so well. Watched it twice in theaters, but watching it on Blu-ray at home, it was so good still. So look out for that, the best of 2023 list. It may be hint on that list. Next up we have Deadpool. I figured I'd start collecting some more superhero films as well, since I unsubscribed to Disney Plus. Of course, I'm needing to add more of the superhero films, rated R or not. So we got Deadpool 1, we got Deadpool 2, and I believe this has a couple different cuts, which I've only seen this once, so I don't know what... I probably have only seen the original theatrical cut. I rented it at some point, And then next up we have Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. I was so excited to find some of these newer movies out there already for $6.99. Not too bad a deal. I picked this up in November, so it was only a few weeks old, I believe, at that time on Blu-ray. So I was able to enjoy this another time as I'm rewatching some and watching other 2023 releases I missed as we lead up to my ranking. It's hopefully coming in the next coming weeks. Next up, we have Rambo 1 through 4. This was another franchise missing from my collection, so I figured I'd get this because they also had at the same disc replay, Rambo Last Blood. I didn't mind that it was in a separate pack than the first 4 films. It's all gonna go in the same sort of bunch, and I get to enjoy both. And since it was since it was $11 as a whole for the whole franchise, I figured why not get it then, especially since some of the newer editions are a bit more expensive. And next up we have Killing a Sacred Deer. It's been a couple years since I watched this, but this is a really good one from Yorgos Lanthimos, and I know he has the Poor Things release. Unfortunately, that movie missed my theaters. Hopefully it will later down the line for award shows or whatnot. But as of now, I have not seen Poor Things or have access to the movie. But either way, next up we have American History X. Watched this a couple months back, not even on the disc, and I do highly, highly enjoy it. It's gruesome. Maybe not gruesome is the best word to say it, but it's really heavy on what it tackles, the themes, and just the performances. Edward Norton is really fantastic in what they do. This was a big recommendation to me before having viewed it, and I had to pick up on Blu-ray once I found it on a disc replay. Next up, we got another DC film to add to my DC collection. I might have half of them so far. And Birds of Prey, Harley Quinn. I do highly enjoy this movie, actually, especially on rewatch. It still lived up to what I remember from it. It's not one I put in often, but it's very unique despite having a way too long of a title for what it's worth. And I think it's kind of underrated in some means. And then we got a couple more of the Disney titles. We got Disney's Princess and the Frog, again with a slipcover. We have a Fox and the Hound 2 film collection. Fox and the Hound 1 and 2. I've never seen the second one, so that'll be interesting to explore. But for $3.99, I don't mind adding the extra movie to the collection just to have, because I don't know if they sell that individually on its own either way. Next up, we have Pirates of the Caribbean, Stranger Tides. Dead Man's Chest, which is the second movie. I have the first and the third on Blu-ray with the slipcover, and so I figure I add that. Not sure when I'm gonna add Stranger Tides or the last one, whichever it was called. Not as big a fan of those, but as of now, I have the first trilogy, and that's what I'm really enjoying, especially now that I don't have the streaming platform that will supposedly always have it. And so that's most of the disc replay. And so now we're going to go on to normal pickups for the most part from Amazon and whatnot. But next up we have Oppenheimer. I do highly, highly enjoy this movie. So powerful of a film. Christopher Nolan. I know this was from a movie after I quit YouTube last year. And I just highly, highly enjoy this one. And kind of looking forward to rewatching it in the sense of experiencing it and not necessarily feeling all the strong emotions from it. So that'll be quite an interesting rewatch, and all of this talk about how well it's sold out on 4K or Blu-ray. It was really good, so I decided I'd pick it up myself, especially since I wanted to give it a rewatch before giving my ranking so I can reorganize my thoughts and reorganize my ranking if need to. Next up, we have Evil Dead Rise. Now, this was a movie I picked up. I did really enjoy once I watched it in theaters. And so I wasn't necessarily going to pick it up even when it was on sale. But there was a time where I found it. It was $5 for the Blu-ray. Unfortunately, it has a little rip on the back, but I don't mind too bad for my collecting purposes. That I do really enjoy this one. This is the only Evil Dead movie I have in my collection, but I do enjoy the franchise pretty well as a whole. The second one and Army of Darkness, I'm not as big a fan of, but still, it's really nice to have that collection, even if it's the most gruesome. That's kind of what I'm enjoying about it too. And then there's another Black Friday deal. I believe this was $10 for John Wick Chapter 4. So now I do have the complete one, except this one has a slipcover where my other first 3 movies don't. But I don't mind too much, and I do like the slipcover for possibly my favorite in the franchise. So I just am excited to have that, because it was also another movie I have to give a rewatch of all these 3-hour movies before giving out my ranking for you guys to enjoy. And then, speaking of the same deal, we got Beau is Afraid, and yes, I love A24, I love Ari Aster. I actually have not seen his work on what is it called? Midsommar. And so I still have to see Midsommar, but Beau is Afraid, I was the only one in theater watching this movie, and it's horrific and weird, but sometimes I just gotta love those films for what they are. And it's about schizophrenia, I believe it's called, where you're just afraid of everything. And so all of the experience is heightened and elevated to feeling what that person is feeling and seeing all the illusions that person is seeing. And so it's just a wild ride what that thing goes through. And so we got a couple more, or a few more things to talk about. And after Christmas, I found for $4 Home Alone 1 and 2 at a Walmart at my sister's, which normally the Walmarts around my area, I pretty much have never seen clearance at all, or regarding physical media. I figured they might put them in the back, save them for the next year, but I found physical media on clearance. And since I got rid of Disney Plus, I wasn't even able to watch Home Alone or the Santa Claus movies this past month, and so I was able to find them for $4. That was definitely the right price for Home Alone 1 and 2. And along the same regards, what I was just talking about, Santa Claus, I found Santa Claus 1 and 2. They didn't have 3. I don't know if it was there to begin with, but each one was $4, so for $8 for both of those are the better of the trilogy. And so I figure I add those to the collection, whether I feel spontaneous and Christmas-like this month and finally watch what I missed out on last month, or if I just experience them at the end of the year in general and be able to own them. I'm finally excited to have that. But the final thing of this haul, and of pretty much the second half of 2023, we got the Time Tunnel series. I got this for Christmas from my parents, and I was worried because it had that different logo that looked like it was Region B, but I tested it, and in my Blu-ray player, it does play. So I'm really, really excited to revisit this series, because this was one of my favorite series growing up. I watched my parents and family, and I don't remember if we ever saw all the episodes, but I did really enjoy what they had. This was one of the inciting things for getting into time travel content, even before watching Back to the Future. And so I just really enjoy what this series has to offer, and I'm gonna be really thrilled to start getting back into what this show has to offer. And so that is pretty much all. I hope you enjoyed all this rambling on talk, whether talking about movies and whatnot. And I'd love to know what movies you have been picking up recently, what you got for Christmas, or recent pickups for the month of January that you're starting to get into. I don't know if I'll go into monthly hauls again, or if I'll cover again, start to stack up everything by the end of the year to show off how this. Let me know if you like longer form hauls or shorter hauls more, because I don't know how frequently I'll collect movies all the time. So But that's just all my haul that I have to share for you guys. Let me know down your thoughts and like this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.